Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this NMSN Military Spouse Highlight. I could not be more thrilled that we are starting off with one of our own team members, Julie Provost. Hi, Julie. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having
Great. Oh, so happy to have you here. And thank you for joining us. And before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself because I always assume everyone knows Julie, but some people may not. So before we, start in on the questions, could you just give everybody a quick dirty down and dirty about your professional pathways and your journey so far?
Sure. Currently I am a content specialist for an online company, and I also own the blog Soldier's Wife Crazy Life, which I started back in 2009. And I have also been a freelancer since 2012, I believe it is. So,
Oh, very cool. So your journey came from like college freelancing,
mhm,
college volunteering, freelancing into
mhm.
W-2 positions. And now, I mean, just because I know you, you pretty much landed the job of your dreams. So this is very
Yeah.
inspirational. This is very cool. So for
Yeah.
those who don't know, Julie's husband is getting ready to retire. And
Mhm,
so I think this is a great conversation to have with you because you have the benefit of hindsight.
mhm.
And so a lot of the questions I'm going to ask you are are dealing with that kind of spectrum, that filter that you have, because you get to see back into the past you, like the whole journey from when you started to where you are now to now you're like laying that groundwork, that foundation for the retirement. So this is going to be fun. So before we get to the end, let's start at the beginning. How are things different? Like now that you're looking at closing this chapter, how are things different than what you thought they'd be?
Um, I guess I didn't, I felt like I felt like I would focus more on being a stay-at-home mom, maybe having a few side things. But what I learned quickly was that I really, as much as I love being a mom and I love being a mom, um, I also love to work. I love to make my own money, and I love being able to do that from home. So being able to do that from home is just so helpful having a husband in the military. Like you never know when they're coming and going.
Right.
And they're gone a lot, and the flexibility that comes with that is just amazing. And back when we started this journey, remote work was not like it is now. It was very different. So I guess I never really saw that future for myself. So
No, it's kind of cool that society finally caught up to
yeah.
the future that you saw for yourself, which was, being able to balance everything. So that's very, very cool. So, what are some other career challenges that you had? So you talk about how flexibility and the ability to work remotely was a challenge. And like, did you have other career challenges coming up that made it a little bit difficult to maintain? I mean, clearly moving, but
Yeah, having special needs kids made it difficult to, I couldn't just go out and get any job, especially with a husband that wasn't going to be around. I really needed to be flexible, have flexible work so that I could be there for my kids and with the extra help that they needed, over the years. And as they got older, it got a little bit easier to take on more work and more roles. Um, so, yeah.
so that is a challenge because I think a lot of spouses will find themselves in your shoes as well, where they're also primary caregivers,
Mhm.
whether it's children at home or parents at home or whatever.
Right.
Like a lot of us find ourselves in that situation. So that's definitely a challenge. Do you think that it's a little bit easier now today with the resources than it was in the past when you started?
Yeah, I think so. When I had my oldest in 2004, there wasn't, it wasn't, you could have like side gigs from home, but it wasn't like you weren't working for company. Like most people weren't working for companies, like having an actual full-time position just from home,
Right.
it's a little different. And I know that like COVID kind of made that happen for a lot more people, which is so great. Especially for us military spouses, like it's just so great that you can do so much from home in the remote position. Not only is it, flexible in your day to day, but it's also flexible when you have to move or if your spouse is going to be gone for a long period of time. Like there's just so much flexibility with it.
Yeah, that was kind of a surprise, wasn't it? The
Yeah.
impact that COVID had on remote work. I
Mhm.
feel like, that was one of the very few silver linings was
Right.
the way it accelerated more employers jumping on the remote work bandwagon, right?
Yeah, for
Exactly.
sure.
So, I mean, that's one big surprise. So, any other surprises or regrets that you had in the career professional space?
Let's see. I guess I don't have a lot of regrets. I guess I wish I don't know. I wish I would have kind of had more faith in myself and what I could have achieved and what I could have done during the last 20 years or 18 years, I guess it's been. you know, um, I just didn't know. I just didn't know. When you don't know what you don't know. So
Oh, no, that's a really great segue. So, because you do know, because you are looking at like, the transition, what advice would you give your 20-something-year-old self? Like now that with the clarity of hindsight, what advice would you give yourself?
I guess I'd say, trust yourself, trust your ideas, trust your passions, and don't let anyone turn you off from what you want to do. I've, you know, you're everyone's going to always experience naysayers or tell you that that's not going to work or I even had someone tell me like you could not make money at home writing and it's like no, this is what I want to do. And um my current job that I just started, like it's really everything that I love to do. It's writing, social media and everything. And I'm just glad that I had the faith to keep pursuing that. So
No, and one of the things I hear you say quite a bit, and is there's a season for everything.
I'm a
So, yeah,
big
can you share about that a little bit?
yeah, I really believe there's a season for everything. So if you are a new military spouse or, seasoned military spouse and you feel maybe you are burnt out, maybe your husband just got orders overseas, maybe you just had a child, and you're just feeling like, you know what, for this season of my life, I'm not interested in really diving into 100% career type stuff. Maybe you want to just have your baby and volunteer for a little bit or just take a pause. And that's okay too because it's just because you're pausing right now does not mean you have to pause forever.
Nothing's forever, yeah.
I was a stay-at-home mom when we were in Germany and I really didn't start my career until after that and I was, in my 30s. So it's kind of like it's never too late. It's never too late.
No, it's
So if
never
you
too
need a
late.
pause, that's okay.
Yeah, and especially for spouses who are not choosing to pause, right? Like some of
Right.
you have the pause is chosen for you.
Mhm.
But yeah, I love that because it's never too late. Thank you so much, Julie. This is really great. And if you haven't already read Julie's profile, I hope you will because she shares some other advice and nuggets there. And you can read her entire story, and maybe you'll see yourself in her story. And please, if you have any questions for Julie, leave them in the comments. We'll make sure that she gets them, and I'm sure she'd be happy to answer them. And we're always looking for more great stories to share. So if you're interested, please fill out the form. We'll post in the comments and maybe you'll get chosen for the next highlight. Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you next week. Bye.
Bye.